Jane Austen. Jane Austen was one of the greatest women novelists during the 19th century. She produced six novels during 27 years of her career as a novelist. Her main works are Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, Northanger Abbey, and Persuasion. Jane Austen was one of the supreme artists in fiction. She was a serious and conscious writer, absorbed in her art, wrestling with its problems. She has been considered as the writer of pure novel. As a master of her craft, she outshines all her contemporary novelists. But the range of her novels was limited. She drew all her materials from her own experience with the result all South England, all with the result, all her sins belong to South England, where she had spent a considerable period of her life. Jane Austen's imaginative range was, in some respects, a very limited one. It was confined to human beings in their personal relations. She sees Mrs. Brown not as a soul or a citizen, but only as a wife of Mr. Brown. Jane Austen chose a limited background for her novels. Her novels would be recognized as domestic or tea table novels, and the readers seeking anything like high romance in her works would be disappointed. She lived through the French Revolution and the Napoleonic War, but no shadows of their storm is allowed to confuse the firm, bright clarity of her vision. There are no adventures in her books, no abstract ideas, no romantic reveries, no death scenes. Her novels do not represent a stormy passions and high tragedy of emotional life. She was primarily concerned with the comedy of domestic life. She was incapable of writing a tragedy or romance. Jane Austen was the supreme realist among the novelists of her age. Her stories are all drawn from the life that she knew. Emma tells us of a delightful girl who is as essentially true to life today as she was in the years when Napoleon was emperor. Jane Austen's sense of reality is best represented in Mansfield Park. The whole passage in which Jane Austen describes Fanny's journey is a masterpiece of realistic writing. Her novels present beautifully the manners in southern England of the early 19th century and the picture of the entire English society of upper middle class. Skillful plot construction. Jane Austen's great spell lies in plot construction. Her skillfully constructed plots are really the highest object of artistic perfection. She keeps the balance between fact and form in the most successful manner. Emma and Pride and Prejudice are all logically constructed as a detective story. She was endowed with the power of creating living characters. Her characters are not types but individuals. She portrays human characters with great precision and exactness. She shows her characters not in moments of crisis but in the trivial incidents of everyday life. Her characters are not only living but also original. In her six books, she never repeats a single character. The snobbishness of the Rev. Mr. Collins is unlike that of Rev. Mr. Alton. Jane Austen is a satirist as well as a moralist. Jane Austen's attitude towards life is that of humorist. Comedy is implicit in the manner in which she tells her story. I dearly love a laugh, says Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice, and this statement applies to the novelist too.